So I've discovered another Joseph Smith clothing item, I believe. These pins, these lifeguard buttons pins. So I'm going to bring you to right here in Joseph Smith's journal, where he's talking about, in the beginning, he's really talking about it's January 1842. So, but this is 7th of May, 1842. So they found out already all about John C. Bennett, horrible man, horribly abusive to women, lived what Cochran lived, which is inherently completely abusive, horrible to women. Like J.C. Bennett didn't care about babies. He was pro-choice, but man's choice, because the women didn't even want that choice of things he did to them to take away the evidence of horrible acts. Anyway, that man. So they are. He's looking back and remembering how John C. Bennett tried to get him to become part of this sham battle, take command. I'm not going into too much detail of this, but and then Bennett requested that his cavalry, without his guard staff, and then as you go through this, commander of my list. So this is written in May 1842, but this happened in January 1842. So 1842 is around when the Nauvoo Legion, 1841, because they basically got exterminated from Missouri because they tried, again, it keeps being this difficult thing where they're out in the West and they like can't defend themselves. Have you ever been in that situation? Not fun. Feel like unsafe, and you're like, or just your reputation, or anyway, I won't go to that. Oh my goodness, like I just reading church histories and it's like, oh, you just feel helpless and just attacked, right? Not fun. Or physically not safe, and people are like, no, you can't go call the cops to protect you, right? Well, I've been there. And John C. Bennett did gaslight and lie about Joseph Smith. What was the lie? That Joseph Smith tried to kill the governor, or wanted to kill, or talked about, he wasn't even there, but he sent his men there and tried to do it, and yeah. Anyway, and Joseph's like, no, this guy tried to kill me, but the Holy Spirit told him to not do this. But anyway, long explanation of details, because I information dump, and I'm sorry, that's hard not to do, but that in of itself should not be getting me bullied and told that I'm a horrible person. But it did happen. Okay. But anyway, John C. Bennett, his feelings towards me, sham battle. But I'm going to go back. So his guard staff couldn't be there. So it's important, the wording here. And the Spirit told him, the gentle breathings of the Spirit whispered me on prayed that there was mischief concealed in the sham battle. And so Joseph didn't go. And John C. Bennett wanted to kill him. He basically was a Jeffrey Epstein, literally. Anyway, during the sham battle, they talked about his lifeguards. How am I not seeing it? Brain bug right now. My lifeguards. Anyway. 3 minutes to me to get to this point. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm amazed anyone watches my channel. The fact that every detail is important to me, and I have a lot of information in my head. But that term was used in reference to actually people who protected him, but also ended up being used with the Nauvoo Legion here. And so this is a news article, the St. George News, where this lady is showing. Okay, actually, let's just start here. So I was looking at this. So this is on page actually 26 of the visual image of Joseph Smith by William B. McCarl. And they start talking about a pin that supposedly had a photo of Joseph Smith, but then ended up just being like a photo of a painting, and just like, okay. And so William B. McCarl's trying to find the photo of Joseph Smith, so he follows this, or someone else did. She had a pin containing, but the pin supposedly was worn on his uniform in 1843. And so the pin looks like that, and it's in horrible quality. But then I started researching about this pin that he would wear. And then I found this at Nauvoo Supply, Nauvoo Legion Lifeguards. So that's wording. Replica uniform button, antique lapel pin, but it's a lapel pin. So it was a button, but it was a pin. But supposedly, Joseph Smith wore a pin on his uniform. Okay. And then this woman starts talking about these buttons, but I'm like, but it's been already turned into a pin, so maybe that's the pin, is my theory here. And so these buttons look like this. And so this is the original, especially comparing it to this, you're like, ugh, really dark. But I mean, that's what's in right now, is have these, not, I don't know if you would call it rusted, but just flat, unshiny. But the original one, very shiny. You wonder where I'm going with this? And then they've got different pictures of the outfits with the pin on it. And so in real time, I'm going to kind of show you, here's a screenshot from something that they had there. And so I can just bring it down to opacity and show you, I've lined it up, but of course, I can line up the size of the neck and everything. This guy is large. He's a large guy in my picture. Like, you just know, in comparison to all the other alleged photos, he's taller and bigger and more muscular. Just saying it. So lining this up, it's still, like, I can make it wider, but then the neck would be out to here. Like, whoever wore this outfit was smaller than this guy. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to have this about like that, but that looks at the same approximate dimensions. Okay, and so if I take this, and there's that button pin, it's pretty shiny. Of course, it's very old at this point. That button pin looks about, just seeing if it's about the same size or not. It really looks to be about the same size. And how shiny this must be. There's that version. I just also have this version. Did I line that one up? Let me see here. I think I tried to. Again, it looks about the same size. This is... yeah, that one pretty much looks about the same size. So it looks like it really could be about the same size as these buttons. So you look at that and you see this is the original button. And how shiny it would be. Isn't that crazy? So I might bring this. But obviously this is reflecting a ton of light. And, even if this was a photo using one of our cameras, it might be difficult to make out what's on this. Like, this is about as high. This is Godwin Weaver's $300 photograph that I got paid, had to get done because I wanted to make sure, because I knew I had to have someone, a second witness, say, hey, I've held this photo, it's real. I took a photo of this, and all I did was take a photo of it, and these are raw shots. Here you go. So I just forwarded all of that onto the people I was working with. So that's why I had that done. Because I was trying to look at that and compare it to the one from the article that supposedly, because I took some screenshots of the actual article. So, I mean, this is this, but inside of it is a photo of Joseph Smith, and it's a photo of a painting. And so William B. McCarl is like, this is not a photo of Joseph Smith. Like, that's a painting. Like, no, duh. But he has a whole like page on that. But this is something people are selling. And so I don't really know if that really is according to this whole story. Right, there's the article. I guess it's on top. So again, here's the article. They're talking about in the course of the investigation, I was learned that a Mrs. Fisher had a pin containing a photograph of Joseph Smith on his favorite horse. The pin supposedly was worn on his uniform in 1843. The widow's lady husband had been a collector of rare items and approached the Utah, and had been approached in the Utah hotel. Two men were anxious to do business with someone wishing to purchase a real photograph of Joseph Smith. And so this is someone that's still alive in 1960. Mrs. Fisher's husband, because it was written in 1860, was interested. The men convinced him in their story, which accompanied a pin, that it displayed a genuine photograph. Fisher made the purchase and the pin remained in the family's possession. And like, it's a photo of Joseph Smith. Anyway, but supposedly he wore a pin on his uniform. So my theory, so yeah, I'm scratching this. This isn't a pin that he wore of a photo of a painting of himself. I mean, maybe, but this is about the same ratio, same size as the pin that the whole Nauvoo Legion did have. They again looked like that. And so this is a close-up of the pin. And so I'll go ahead and do a lower the opacity there and shrink it down. And just sort of compare the details. So again, I'm analyzing this in real time. I found that out. That's all out last night. It was just something I felt inspired to look up again, or it's almost down to the right size. Because it definitely looks more round. Is that? Yeah. So that could be that, and that could explain sorry guys. Have the pen selected. Okay. I don't know if that still looks too big. That looks about right. It is blown out. But I'll take that in and we can just zoom in on both of these as close as I can get and just sort of analyze it. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Please click like if you actually like it. I don't know. I have a hard time asking people to click like on my videos. Like, subscribe. But, yeah. Not making money off of any of these videos. So, yeah, I mean, obviously this is more of a straight on shot. And if this is on his lapel, it could be angling inward. And what would that do? It would change the shape of the circle a little bit. So if you have something that's like a flat circle and you start curving, it's hard to explain. Just take an art class and start learning about perspective. So I think the only minor difference is this pin might be angled on his lapel, pinned on. It's clearly a pin and it's blown out. Like his collar is blown out. I think this is a flower that's blown out. I used to think this looked like an S-shaped tie pin, which Kim Marshall thought she could see on one of her photos of the painting. Because you can see the canvas stripes. I'm sorry, Kim, you can't. But her research is amazing. Like, she was just so passionate in everything that she had written. That was the first time I read about or knew anything of anything about. Like, you can tell in 2017, I knew nothing, but this picture already existed and I didn't know any yet. Watch my videos to find that out. Debbie doesn't know much other than I could just analyze this guy's face to the death mask of Joseph Smith, and I was floored. But as far as provenance, history, letters, I probably didn't. If you said Joseph Smith III, I probably would have been like, what? In 2017, you don't hear me talking about Kendall County or Plano or Newark, because I didn't know. I didn't own this yet. I just had a screenshot of it from the juvenile instructor and had put it on my iPad and was analyzing it to death mask. Didn't know who owned it. Didn't know Gregory yet. Hadn't talked to him until October 2017. So it's now 7 years since I have owned it and bought it from him, and then saw the back. And then what's this area? Who printed that? His father knew Emma Smith. Oh my goodness, Elisha Bibbins. And then his friend, Dr. Yeah, that guy that also was a Methodist minister that definitely wrote a whole biography about knowing the Hale family. And the person who was there first was Elisha Bibbins. Well, that Elisha Bibbins was from Illinois and died, according to his obituary, in that man's armchair, asleep. And then another obituary is describing J.S. Bibbins and how his mother Alice is now living with him in Newark, Illinois. His father knew Emma Smith. And Joseph Smith III, I kept being like, well, is he ever going to talk about Newark? It's not that far away. He was talking about it a lot. It was called Georgetown. And I found a newspaper article that said they had to change the name from Georgetown because there was another Georgetown by the 1840s. And so they were pressured because they were probably the smaller one, you know. They're like, well, let's change it to Newark. And they're like, oh, but we've been calling it Georgetown for like 20 years or however long. I don't know. But they still called it Georgetown. And Joseph Smith III had friends there in Georgetown. And the friend he names was one page away from J.S. Bibbins in the census record of like 1870. And J.S. Bibbins, Joseph Smith III moved to Plano in 1866. But yeah, let's just zoom in a little bit more. And obviously there's not a lot more I can say. It's the same. It's the right size. It really is lining up very well to be the correct dimensions. Let me take that thing away right there. There's that one. I think this one was at a better angle. So we'll just look at that version of the military outfit again. I didn't grab the right thing. Okay, lower the opacity of this one again. Sorry, it's hard to know when they all just say screenshot. Yeah, it really looks like there's the neck. Okay, there's the body. I think it's a smaller person, but I mean, these are buttons, but as a pin, it would work. But again, you see how that's at a different angle? Like if you really want to get nitpicky about anything. And the actual pin, let's see where did put everything back at 100% so I know what I'm clicking on. Yeah, so there's the pin itself. So Yeah, so these pins are all at odd angles. So even though this is a straight on shot, there's the pin right there. In real life, so you want to learn about distortion today. I'll teach you about distortion. It looks, and it's hard. It looks like it's at low opacity because it's just low DPI, and it's like me trying to photograph the vest through a glass container, trying to not have glare. Really impossible. But yeah, I'm going to take that pin and move around and show you, like, it just, if you want to see what camera distortion, angle distortion of objects, things just start to change. Just something straight on. Shape of it's really going to look quite different, but yeah. But you'll find some differences, but this is the same object, right? Kind of like faces. There will be some differences. So then you just have to get someone that knows how to classify specific facial features, that actually can see it and is trained to see. Like, if you don't know how to see what you're looking at, you're probably going to fail. So yeah, you can see how this button is angled more inward. That one's more upward. Yeah. But anyway, put it back at 100%. I really think the guy in my picture is wearing a pin like this. I can't say 100%, but that could be what that is. Because again, just sort of in conclusion, just going off of a few statements about the pin supposedly was worn on Joseph Smith's uniform. And here they're talking about a lapel pin. Well, I mean, the guy in my picture is wearing a pin on his lapel, and then here are them as a button. And then what would have this been on Joseph Smith? So basically, the button says Lifeguards, NL, Nauvoo Legion, with a beehive in the center of it. And Joseph Smith did talk about his lifeguards is what he would call his bodyguards, lifeguards. But they all called themselves lifeguards of the people. They were just trying to keep themselves alive. That's why there was the Nauvoo Legion, because the police weren't helping them anywhere out in the West. Yeah. So, yeah, it could be. It really, really could be having sized someone with those buttons, but also people have turned them into pins. But supposedly he wore a pin, the military pin. That seems to be the general size of that. I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, have a good day.